That's not far off the size of my forearm anyway. It's maybe a bit smaller than yours, a bit larger than yours. This, what we require of ourselves and the things that we relate to, in a sense, is to let them be what they are. And this is it expressing itself as it is. It's not pretending to be anything more. It's not pushing and it's not holding. It's expressing just itself as it is. But it's very difficult to do that when you've got with a limb, because the limb is not only expressing its physical shape, but it's expressing a whole lot of life, a quality of life in it. And so when we let this go, it doesn't hide what it is. But quite often when we let go, our investment, we are unable with the forearm. For instance, if I were to put the forearm there, this expresses a lot more. It's used for other things. It's used to get things and to push things away, to pull things in. And it's so used without really being appreciated for what it is that we so rarely just allow that to be a stick. You know, when I lift the stick, I feel the weight of the stick. And the arm's not much different, it's the same sort of weight. And in that, I can feel, in that last movement, that where consciousness was at was not as clear as the stick, because I could feel that it held itself slightly. It was just slightly held on the way down. It was held onto as an object. It was me, part of me. So when you practice this first movement, which very few people do, most people when they're practicing the arm drops do something like this. It's very rare nowadays to see somebody just pause at that point there and let the weight rest there during an in-breath and then let it go again. But it's the simplest movement, and it is part. Originally, when we practice this, you would make 3 of these movements. Because you're basically getting in touch with that ability to let something go. The simplest part of your body, one of the simplest parts of your body that you can let go of, just to let it go and no longer own it, that it's just there resting. So when you're practicing this, rather than imagining the shape of the arm, you give your attention to the sensation of weight, underside, flowing towards the floor. And then you let that weight go. That seems easy, and it is easy if you've just started practicing. It's really easy to do that because you just think, oh, I'll just lift it and drop it. But later you realise what you're not letting go of an arm, you're letting go of an experience. You're letting go of weight, not letting go of an arm. Because the arm at that point is imaginary. The arm is a mental construct. You have a vision in which you see a picture of an arm, but that's not what I'm asking you to let go of. I'm asking you to let go of the sensation of the arm. So that at one point there is a weight, you experience the weight and you let the sensation of weight go. That's what is really happening. Yeah? Let's try that. Just try that. Feel for this feeling on the out breath of the underside weight. So the focus of attention is with the sensation rather than with the image. Okay? Okay. Okay. Just feedback. It may seem like teaching you something you already know, but it took me 20 years to get this exercise right, so.
More and more weight.
Yeah.
They drop, seemed a lot softer.
Softer.
Yeah, the letting go of the weight. Felt more like I was letting go of the weight, so there wasn't a clonk.
Yeah.
But then still a drop, it felt a lot more gentle.
There are several sort of indicative patterns that point themselves out. For instance, and it's often related to the breathing. You can't really separate any action from the breathing because the breathing is part of the shape of it. So now if the breath is pushed like that, if it's been pushed out, there's quite often this throwing away. And one of the signatures of it is that the arm will go like this as it lands, that the arm doesn't just drop. it pushes the hand away. So you'll get that. Not as gross as that, although to be in beginners you will get that. You'll find that people go like that, or thinking that. And this is exactly the sort of person who thinks that throwing things away is letting go, pushing things away is letting go. So they'll have that tendency to overexert. And the other tendency is to control, so that the breath tends to be squeezed. You'll get a something like that. It looks gentle, but in fact it's very, very controlled. And then there's a whole swathe of movements in order to express particular patterns. So some will do this. Or something like that. And what's not happening is that it's not just dropping, it has a signature to it, and the signature is the signature of that person. And so it's, obviously don't point this out to people when they start, because it's like they're going to show who they are, but we want to see who we are. We want to see the signature of what it is that in me expresses something. If we have that information, we can work with it. Otherwise, we're just wandering around thinking that everything's all right. I'm just different. And I'm unique. I have my own ha-ha, and that's me. I don't think so. I think that may be a habit. Yeah?
Yeah.
What did you...
I felt the weight more clearly, it felt heavier than I've ever experienced.
Oh, that's good.
Before. And letting it go, I had to stop. Felt like I was, because it was resting there, the weight felt very restful, so there's an element of actually starting the movement, moving that weight back in the other direction to let it
push
go.
it over.
To push it over.
But you don't need to do that.
Sure.
And it's this feeling that to do anything, I have to start it. I begin life. I make the action happen. But actually, the action's already started. It's happening. There's nothing you need to do other than let go. And it's getting over this idea that I am required to do something in order that change can take place. Actually, the letting go process will happen if you just stop being there. If we could lose you, the whole thing would begin to relax and collapse on its own. And that is one factor that you need to trust. Yes. How was it?
There was when I was letting go, there was I could feel, it was like I could feel it in mind, a little holding.
Mm-hmm. Where does it express itself in the body?
A slight pause.
Yeah. I mean, this is you doing the arm drops. Isn't quite like that. It's a little bit like this. And then it goes. And it's that concern at the beginning. It's the fear of what happens if I completely let go without any preparation. What will be revealed if I just let go, and I don't prepare to let go? And it's useful that to see in you. Let's have a look at you do it. It's always useful to be magnified by attention. So that pause, that holding there, is to make you feel okay that you are about to let go.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is, you have to reveal what you are. And that means immediately, the moment there's a moment in the process of letting go when you are not in control and you're absolutely revealed. And that's right at the beginning of the out-breath. And that's when you need to act. If you want to truly act in a free way, it has to be in a way that hasn't been considered.
It does feel like that. It feels like just for a flicker, mind leaps in.
Yeah. So you can't separate the movement of the body from the movement of breath, and you have to, in that sense, in watching the weight, you're also watching the movement of the cycle of the breathing. So right at the point in the cycle where the letting go begins, at that point you let go. There's no pause. I'll try again. What? What?
You know, it was better.
Yeah. What else?
I didn't. It's funny, but it feels like a connection that goes sensation, mind, sensation, and I didn't let that little track go.
Yeah. You see, this idea of sensation, mind, sensation is actually sensation, me, sensation.
Yeah.
So we're going to, I'm here. I'm here, letting go. I'm here, I'm about to lift my arms. And so there's a little stiffness that comes, for instance, when you raised your arms that time, they weren't as empty as they were the previous time. And that'll have something to do with me. It's me that creates all these little obstacles in the way of the flow. When it flows completely, the arm rises and falls on its own. There is no you having to be sort of referred to or deferred to in the exercise. It dances itself in the end. Thank you. Why don't we just pair off more experienced people with less experienced people and just have a look at what you can see. You may see, you could say it's absolutely perfect as far as I can see, and it may be. Or you may see that there's a signature, a tinge of something going on there. Have a look.
Doing lots of in and out breaths on the way up. Lots of little in breaths and out breaths on the way up. Try to do one out breath. On the way out. The last one for the best.
How about, how did you feel with the weight? Could you feel the weight of that? Just do it one more time. Probably just could come a little bit higher. So you sense the weight and dropping up, dropping down, so it's kind of like the weight almost.
Okay.
Now we're over.
So what you're seeing, and this is important, particularly when you start to practice, because what you see is what you've been pretending to be, mixed in with a very simple action. So don't be, I mean obviously one of the things you feel is self-conscious. You're conscious of self. And what you're seeing is this pattern. Don't be shy about it. Actually look at it and recognise it and remember it, because this is the pattern that you have been playing, pretending that you're that. And when that's gone, there is just an arm rising and falling. So look at it, see it, have compassion towards it, love it. Don't feel ashamed of your excruciating deviation from the norm. Right. Margaret, I'd like to come and sit with me for a minute. I want you to hold that like that. Close your eyes, and I want you to move that weight around without having an image of the thing that you're moving. So you put the attention, the experience of the weight, and not in the picture of what it is. Can you do that? Yeah. Did you notice sometimes the picture came up?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you're doing is training mind to focus on a specific perception. Yeah? And you're maintaining your attention in that specific area. And this is you shaping mind, you're intending mind into a particular area, which is to experience reality rather than concepts. Yeah? That's very important, because that's what you're doing with your arm. But because we prize the arm, it's a much more precious thing than just a little bit of metal, however Tibetan it may be. But this thing we really prize. This thing, it's very difficult to extract the idea, this is me, I'm raising me up here. And so there's much more of a precedent for the identity, of the concept that this is something, and much more adherence to that in mind, and leaning on that idea in mind, than there is of the experience of reality, which is the weight of the thing. And we have to be able to separate mind away from creating constructions and images into experiencing sensations, so that we are with the pure experience of what's going on in the present moment, rather than with a memory of what that used to be and what I think it is now. Yeah? As you move into that area, all the traps of identity offer themselves up, because the moment you start going into remembering things, rather than having a pure experience, with the memory comes the idea that is that. It was like that before, and that's what it is now. You get this sense of, a false sense of continuity, because you're preoccupied with an image rather than with reality. Yeah? In reality, you can feel the weight, and then in comes this sharp, sort of thrusting concept from mind, saying, that's that bit of metal, that's that, there it is, there it is, there it is. And what we're looking for is just to keep the attention on the answer. Now, if you lie down, come closer to me. just experience the sensations of it without going to an image of what it is. And what I want you to do is hold it in that position. And what you can feel is what you can let go of. You can't let go of the image and the feet, the arm drop, but you can let go of the feeling in the arm will drop. So now let go of the arm. So now what's happening is I can feel all this sort of movement going on, because what's happening, if you stay in touch with the sensation and let go of the sensation, it will be clean. But if you if it's fuzzy and it's mixed up with the image, then what's happening is you're trying to let go of an image. And so to let go of an image, you push around to try and find out where the image has gone. Because there isn't you can't let go of the image, so you look for something else to let go of, and you've forgotten what it was that you had in the first place. So it's sustaining the attention with the sensation of the arm. So again. Who do you think you are? Upstart. Who am I? Who am I? The finger of doom is like a little magnet. Just relax. Relax. Breathe, let go. Take the arm. You can see there's a lot of activity going on, and this is what we're learning to do. We're learning to let the attention rest with the experience of the moment rather than with the image in mind that constantly has to grab at things. If mind isn't grabbing at things and pulling them in or pushing them away, you stop existing. And so mind is constantly looking for something to cling to give it a sense of security, of identity, because it's lost touch with reality. And you can allow a little bit of that to go on, but people's lives become preoccupied with that. They spend their entire life searching and seeking security. A sense of, I'm here because I can feel I'm rubbing the floor. I'm here because of the story that's going on in mind. And it's the same sort of thing. It's this constant agitation in mind to keep the sense of me being present. And it's very similar to what you just saw in... So glad I picked you, Margaret. Imagine. Okay, so I'd like you to practice this. It comes up all on its own. I'd like you to practice this. So feel for the weight. For the weight. Now it's heavy. Change partners, have a go. And just get a feeling for, we're just going to feel for the balance of the body and feel for that feeling of weight. Underside weight, which is obviously in the feet. And get the feeling of just letting the attention rest on the weight rather than the image. How are you doing? Are you experiencing what? You feel the weight?
It's amazing.
Yes, and what you're doing is your mind is now attention is able to identify the difference between all the stuff and the weight. And in doing so, you're shaping mind to be able to concentrate on one of the experiences of the present moment. You get the idea? And weight is a very useful one because you carry it a lot with you. There's very seldom, unless you have to have a particularly special job, that you feel weightless. There are very few people these days that feel. Just take the weight. Let's try taking the weight over into one leg. So really what you're working with is mind. You should be able to see mind flitting around trying to make contact with other things. Do you see that? On the other side. It's still really about underside weight. Try closing the eyes. See if you can move the weight over to the other leg without referring to the image. And sometimes it's easier in a static position, but try to let your attention be there with the moving of the weight without referring to the image.